Hey guys, welcome back to Grace Junction Homestead. I'm April, and today we're going to do a little canning. um, I've already got this, okay, it's chunked up in just little cubes. I don't think it really matters how big or small you cut it. I'm honestly not sure. I haven't done my homework on that. Clean hands, guys, clean hands. Clean utensils. Everything needs to be super duper duper clean. So we're assuming that you have clean hands. You have a clean funnel, a clean ladle, that you have processed your meat in a clean way. Your jars are super clean. um, so I am just putting these in here. You want to kind of pack it down a little bit so you get enough in your jar, but not pack it down super tight so that the liquid doesn't get all. I was having a conversation the other day with an Amish woman, and Royce actually had a conversation with yet another one before that and heard the same thing. They don't can meat because when they do, their seals fail. And they don't seem to know why that is, but I figured it out. Their seals are failing because they're not bringing it up to proper temperature. They were taught to pressure can in the old-fashioned kind of pressure canner, not like the new kind that we have now. I don't have one I can show you so that you'll understand the difference, but it was a not modern pressure canner, okay? And they were doing it over wood heat. And so now that they have switched from wood heat to propane stoves and upgraded pressure canners, or through the generations, they have multiplied and their old-fashioned canners have not. So what they were trying to do then was to water bath canned meat, which you cannot do because it is a low acid food. You cannot water bath low acid food. And the reason for that is because your bacteria does not die. I need to keep working while I do this. So what they're trying to do is they were trying to water bath can it for 3 hours to kill the bacteria. And what they would find is they'd go in to use their meat and their seals were failed and their food was bad, and they didn't understand why. And it's because they didn't get it up to a high enough pressure, or a high enough temperature through pressure canning to be able to kill the bacteria in it, and it was growing inside and off-gassing, and it was unsealing their jars. So while you're doing this, and this is cold, man, make sure that you keep your meat when you're processing it, or if you get it just from the store, keep it cold right up until this process. Do not let it sit out and grow bacteria, bringing it up to room temperature or whatever. Don't do it. There are some people who will just go ahead and put their meat in like a brine or a broth or even water and bring it up to a hot temperature, and that's hot packing, but that's not the way I do it. It's a way that works, but you cannot necessarily trust my method while doing that. So if you're going to do it this way, do it cold, very cold. Because bacteria is not your friend when you are canning food. You can't cut corners when you're canning. I will cut corners in the kitchen on just about everything I can get away with, but I don't mess with canning food because that's messing with my family's safety, and it could be the difference between life and death. So I always make sure that I pack everything clean. I make sure everything is super clean, and I don't play with processing times either. Do not cut corners on processing times. If you are up late half the night canning like I sometimes am, still, it doesn't matter. If you can't stay awake long enough to do it, it can wait for the next morning because safety matters more than sleep. Alright, so I have got these all packed and ready to go. Well, I got the meat in them anyway. And I'm going to come and show you, let's see, set that aside for a second. My table is very clean. Just everything must be super clean. Alright, so I'm not sure exactly what you'd call that for headspace, but it's, about here. You do not want to fill it all the way up. If you find on your last jar, pack that down a little bit, that you do not have that much meat, if you, even have this much meat, make sure that you still fill your liquid up as high as it's supposed to go. or else you'll end up with air trapped in there and you will not have a good seal. So it's important that the level of meat or liquid or a combination of both or whatever is high enough so that you don't have a bunch of air. All right, so now this is beef broth. You can use beef broth, bone broth, water, whatever you want to do. I bring mine up to a boil first. You can see it steaming. And just add it in there. And it doesn't take very much because it's full of meat. So, oh, you know what? I forgot something. I'll be right back. Super clean butter knife. Now, it just kind of poke it around. Let's poke around a little bit so that the liquid is penetrating all the way through and all the way down, and everything is just kind of loosely packed around there. And I can't really zoom in and show you this, but because this was boiling, it's already scalding this a little bit. The meat's starting to turn just a little bit brown, and it's kind of bringing it up to temperature. Not to canning temperature, but it's already coming to about room temperature. So this process has to go a little bit fast so that things stay cool and then get hot quickly. You don't want that room temperature for very long, or you've got bacteria growing in there. And with canning, absolutely, like 110%, bacteria is your enemy. So come around and show you where we're at with that. See? It's kind of up to here. Because I don't have anything else, this is what I use. Rings and disposable lids. Never, ever reuse disposable lids. Ever. It is never worth it. Ever. You can't get a good seal on it the second time. If you have tried it and somehow managed to do it, it was a miracle. Don't repeat it. These things don't cost that much in comparison with a hospital bill or a funeral. So don't do it. Screw it on. And it doesn't have to be super tight. It's just hand tight. And this serves to, the ring only holds the lid in place so that it doesn't, you know, float off or fly off or whatever. That's its purpose, not to hold it down. So it only just needs to be hand tight, just enough to hold it in place. Some people think that you won't get a good seal if you don't put it on super tight, and that's not true. We do our venison, in case you're interested, 3 different ways. First of all, we always butcher our own. We don't pay anybody else to do it. I have no problem. I'm nothing against anybody who doesn't butcher their own meat. It's just, that's what we do. It saves money, and I know that there's no waste. And if I can do it, I will do it. And that's something that I can do. But so we do ours 3 different ways because we don't really like venison roast or venison steak. Although a venison roast done in an Instant Pot can be pretty amazing. But it's just not how we roll. So we cut it up in little chunks and can it for stew meat. And by the time we get done with this, it is so tender from being in the pressure canner that it's like the most tender roast beef ever. And a really good beef broth or bone broth or whatever it is you want to can it in can lend amazing flavor to a stew. I'll just, you know, open it, pop the thing, and pour it into a stew, and it's just, it gives it a whole different flavor. So we do stew meat, we do burger, and the other way is that we do jerky. Now, if you're interested in how Race does jerky, let us know and we will do a video on it. Let us know quick though, because he's going to be doing that in the next couple days. Yeah, he makes really, really good jerky. When it comes to the actual canning process, you need to follow the instructions on both your canner and your canning book or recipe or whatever it is you're following, but definitely on your canner, because safety, people. All right, so my water is not quite up to a rolling boil yet, so I can't put the stuff into it yet. But I wanted to take a second to give a shout out to Nate at Spectrum Paint in Lincoln, Nebraska, because I got your complaint about our lack of content lately. So I really hope that you're enjoying this canning video right now. I didn't take a class on this, have an instructor for this. I watched a couple YouTube videos and figured it out myself. Which, you know, if it worked for me, it can work for you. So give it a try. Just make sure that you don't play with your processing times and you keep everything clean and at the proper temperatures to avoid bacteria growth. Anyway, have a blessed day, guys.